Today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different than I normally do. I'm going to be installing brand new seat covers and a brand new seat foam in my 10th generation F-150. I've owned this truck for about 7 years, and when I got it, the seats were disgusting. Not sure why I said were disgusting, because they are still actively disgusting. They're just completely deteriorating and falling apart, but that's kind of what you can expect from a truck that's over 20 years old. I'm pretty sure that you can do this with the seats in the truck, but I want to take them out so that I can get underneath it and clean it really, really well. I don't know when the last time the seats have been out and been cleaned under there, so we're gonna go ahead and do the extra step and just take them out. Also, when I've replaced seat covers and seat cushions in the past, it's usually really hard to get right in between there to take the foam and the leather out. Right in between the back and the bottom of the seat cover, it gets squished in there really tight, so sometimes it can be difficult. One thing that I need to fix in the future is the dinging sound when you open the door. It's because the shifter is loose, so every time you open the door, it makes the dinging sound even though the key's not in there. First, let's go over the tools and the parts that we're gonna need. We are obviously going to need new seat covers, and if you're replacing the foam, a new seat foam, which I'm only going to do the driver's side. Passenger side is tearing, but it was a gift, so I didn't want to ask for too much, so I just did the one side. The other side, it'll be fine. Now, for tools, this is what I'm going to use to take the seats out, is an impact with a T55 bit on it. After that, I'm going to use some sort of flathead screwdriver so I can pop these little covers off of the seat itself, and then to actually put the new seat covers onto the foam and onto the seat, we are going to need some hog rings, and this little kit was from Amazon, came with a hog ring tool and all of the different hog rings that we would need to put this in. I definitely recommend wearing gloves because the bottom of your seat is extremely sharp. I don't have any gloves, but I want to get started. Okay, make sure you remember which bolt goes where, because these are two different sizes. The shorter one was over here on the left. The longer one was over here on the right. To get the seat out, I typically set the seat in the middle of the seat frame, because if you don't, it makes it really awkward and difficult to get the seat and seat frame out without scratching anything. I'm also going to raise the seat up as high as I can. You can't do that once you unplug it and take it out, unless of course it is not an electric seat. If you have an electric seat, you're gonna have to do everything before you take it out because you can't supply power to it. When you actually go to remove the seat, you are gonna have to disconnect two connectors. So if you lean the seat back in the truck, then you can come over here and see two connectors, a black one and a gray one. The black one has a tab right here that you can just pinch with your fingers. The gray one has its tab right here. So you'll have to use either a pick or a screwdriver or something to release the tab here, and then you can pull the connector out. And just like we thought, it's nasty under there, so we need to get that completely vacuumed up. I should really look into new carpet in here. I don't know what all that is. I don't drink coffee. This is disgusting. Yeah, we're gonna get this all cleaned up. So we need to get started by taking this cover off. First thing I wanna do is get this knob off. To do that, you just pull. It's just held in there with a little bit of teeth. After that, we've got a Phillips head screw right here. We're gonna go ahead and take that out. Next up, we've got an easy one, just this big old push pin right here. Got some panel poppers I'm gonna use. After that, we need to take these two screws out so that we can actually get the whole panel off. Well, I found a hidden screw right here. I did not know that was there. Go ahead and get that zip right out here. And we have to take this screw off so that we can get this little cover off. This was hanging me up. With all of that off, we should be able to just slide this right out of place. Now I'm gonna go ahead and start popping all of the clips out, starting up here. We are making some good progress here, but it looks like the seat cover is actually going through this hinge here. And on that side, it looks like it's going through the seat belt connector. So we are going to need to disconnect the seat belt connector over there just to feed it through. And then on this side, I'm going to unbolt the hinge, take these bolts loose, and then feed the seat cover up that way. So the seat cover and seat foam are still hung up. That's because the seat back actually does need to come off. So that's the seat back, and this is the dowel that is keeping the seat back on. So we need to slip it that direction, and then it can go out that way, and then the seat cover can come off. The seat back is off, which is great news, but I do unfortunately have to get the lumbar support cord loose. But while we're here, just go ahead and look at all of the yellow foam that has been deteriorating off of this seat. Okay, I have no idea how that is supposed to come out, so I'm just gonna go ahead and unbolt it from right here. That way it'll be easier to reconnect as well. Wow, that thing is disgusting. What I'm gonna do real quick before we move on at all is I'm going to take this outside and use a leaf blower and clean the whole thing out, and probably go ahead and wipe down some of the dust and maybe re-grease some of these slides. The last thing I wanna do is put this seat back in and then the slides jam up and cause the motors to break. Before I get this seat cover fully bolted in and put all the hog rings in it and everything, I'm gonna have to come through and prep the seat cover with all of these different holes, because this one doesn't come with any, especially on this side, which is really unfortunate. I think this side's going to be pretty difficult to get all these holes lined up exactly where they need to be. Honestly, I'm not sure if it's going to be easier to do before or after the seat cover has been fully installed. Okay, so it's been some time, and I think that I am going to have to put the foam and the cover on before I do any trimming of the actual cover itself. What I was gonna try and do is line them up next to each other, or even overlay this cover onto this cover and just try to trace it, but I'm kind of noticing that's going to be near impossible to get correct. So if I install it and then just line up the pieces that need to be trimmed, like the seat belt wiring and the seat trim right here, if I just line those up, then I can actually get a more accurate cut. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the cover on. That includes doing the hog ring. Doing this on the ground because it's a little bit easier to manhandle. I went ahead and snapped the back trim piece. That is back in place. So now we can come around to the front and do the hog rings. Okay, as you just saw, that was actually quite a struggle to get the front and the back on. I had to literally sit and pull on the front just to get it to snap in place, but we finally got that. Next up, I'm gonna start to create the holes that we need so that we can start feeding all of the necessary components through it. This side's not gonna be so bad. I'm just gonna do a quick little cut right here in a little X pattern to feed the connector through. The other side though is gonna be pretty rough. There we go. You can see I just did 2 small little cuts to get that wire through. And if we flip it up, you can see that it ran right where it was supposed to and connected right back. Now we get to deal with the difficult sides. So I don't really have a game plan for this. Actually kind of sad that you have to do this because this looks so nice. Okay, I am feeling pretty good about that. Of course, these cuts are nowhere near perfect. I did all the cuts with just a little razor blade here, so we can't expect for perfection on that. But of course, this massive trim piece will cover everything. Before I do bolt this in, I have to get the lumbar support bolted back up, which means the entire seat back needs to go in because it's all connected. Wow, this is so much better than before. It does have a few wrinkles in it, more than a few, but in my experience, once you actually install it and have it in the vehicle for several days, maybe even a couple weeks if it's cold outside, these wrinkles will start to relax and it will start to take shape of the actual foam in the seat. But we need to get it in the truck now. I did go ahead and vacuum all this up and wipe down this side of the center console. So this is as clean as this truck has been since I've owned it. Wow, that's like a brand new truck right there, unless you look over there. Just don't look at that one yet. We're not there yet. The most obvious thing about this is that I feel like I'm sitting up taller. Makes sense when you think about it, but still weird.